Today we're going to do natural law, or at least in this video. I'm going to come back in about 2.5, 3 hours and do a presentation on our next zodiac sign. We completed Taurus. All right, so let's get into it with natural law. This is a book called Volney's Ruins. Volney's Ruins. I think I put this in the description area of the video also. But if it's not there, I'll add it. But you can get it yourself. All right, Volney's Ruins. Now, attached to Volney's Ruins is a book. Let me get this together for y'all. This book is inserted into Volney's Ruins. So when you get Volney's Ruins, this book will be inserted at the back, okay, y'all? All right, so we left off on number 7, natural law number 7, and y'all take note that these natural laws are different from the. Let me show you what I have. I'm at a different coffee shop today, so I have a black coffee. They call it cafe, right? They told me it's non-hybrid, so I'm gonna assume that they told me the truth. And here I have natural honey, 100% pure natural honey. Okay? So this is the way I like to have my coffee. The honey in the coffee. All right? This is the way I like to drink it. Sometimes I drink it hot, but most of the time not. Being in Vietnam, or being in Southeast Asia is hot. So usually I take my coffee on ice. It's really delicious, y'all. Try it. It's very healthy. There's no milk, no creamer in here. All right. Coffee is a bean, right? It's actually a fruit. It grows on a tree, right? And so what I'm trying to say is it's just an herb. It's an herb. All right. So with the natural honey, it's a nice herbal concoction, if you will. All right, so I got my glass of ice, and this is hot. All right. So as long as you have natural honey, like I mentioned before, as long as you have a non-hybrid coffee bean, you're good to go. It's a very, very healthy drink, as long as you don't take too much, right? I mean, too much caffeine is not good for you. Typically I don't drink the whole cup. So let's see. Delicious. Wow. Better than I expected. All right, y'all. So let's go. We're going to begin on page 186. All right. Like and share the video. So we're over here. Page 186. All right. Natural law. This is different from the 7 principles that everybody talks about, and For whatever reason, the name escapes me right now. But y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, the disadvantage of doing these presentations in coffee houses is so much distractions. So right now I'm by the airport. I don't know if y'all can hear this, but there's loud music, traffic, and airplanes going by. So I got to figure something else out to do. A better place to do these. But I'm outside, right? I have to be somewhere every morning. So I'm doing the best that I can. I'm working with it, right? Making it do what it do, as they say. Anyway. All right, so let me get to where we are. So we're on chapter 2. I gave you the wrong page. We're on chapter 2, page 188, y'all. My bad. Page 188. We're going to start with the sixth character. I'm totally distracted. But anyway, I'll just try to do. Okay, we're going to start with the sixth character, okay? Which is the sixth character? Answer, to be reasonable, because its precepts and entire doctrine are conformable to reason and to human understanding. All right, so not to beat a dead horse, but we know what we are not human, we are man and woman. All right, humans are the hybrids. In law, in nature, okay, they're the hybrids. Okay, so what is this saying to us? Natural laws are reasonable. Well, that makes sense, right? It makes sense, because if they were not reasonable, you'd never be able to figure out what they are, right? And it actually would be contradictory to life and happiness if they were not reasonable. Okay? So let's continue. It says it says because its precepts and entire doctrine are conformable to reason. In other words, you can think your way through it, right? Nope, you don't have to know some fancy mathematical equations or have some specialized knowledge in some topic. Everybody can see this and think their way through it, okay? And everyone can understand it, okay? So you can reason your way through it, you understand it, no matter what your educational level, okay? Next question. Is no other law reasonable? So when it says is no other law reasonable, there's natural law, and then there's all other so-called laws. For example, statutory law. Policy, for example, corporate policies. Okay, this is what he's talking about. Is no other law reasonable? These are laws, policies, rules, guidelines, etc. that man makes, not nature. Is no other law reasonable? Or, stated differently, are man-made laws, rules, policies, codes reasonable? Always, right? Answer, no, they are not. For all are in contradiction to the reason and the understanding of men, and tyrannically impose on him a blind and impractical belief. Y'all got that? So these policies, statutes, etc., force you to believe something. Okay, in other words, they're not based in nature, but you have to believe something. Okay? And we should not believe, we should what? We should know. How do we know? We know from our reason and observation in nature. Okay, so let's go back to this. I think this is going to be interesting. It says, no, for all are in contradiction to the reason and understanding of men. So let's see, for example, if I cannot defend myself without being, let's say, executed or put in prison for life because I'm defending myself or my kinfolk, was that reasonable? Is that contradictory to nature? Let's continue here. It's a contradiction to reason, because clearly you need to defend your own self. You have a right to self-defense, and you have a right and a duty to defend your kinfolk, your seed and your woman, right? But if I need to call 911 and let my open enemy, a colonizer, or his minions come to help me, well then I'm not in my right mind. Y'all see what I'm saying? That's like you asking the guy who robbed you 2 years ago to come settle a difference between you and your woman. All right? Or to come settle a difference between you or whoever. You got to be out of your mind. Or what? Or you don't have a knowledge of history. You don't know who you are, you don't know who he is. Or you don't have any self-respect or self-love. Y'all see that? All right. So it says, is no other law reasonable? Answer, no. For all are in contradiction to the reason and the understanding of men. Y'all got that? Any statute, code, policy that tells you that you cannot defend yourself or your kinfolk, or that tells you that a colonizer has a right to come take your seed, and you're supposed to do nothing but let them take them. Knowing their history. I'm not talking about one individual. I'm talking about them as a whole. Knowing their history, their genocidal history toward you and I. And you come in and you let them take them. See, that goes against common sense, reason, okay, and understanding. That's what you know. You know that ain't right. You know you should not let that happen. Even if it's somebody you know, okay? So let's see what else he got for us. It says, so it goes against reason. It goes against what you understand, right? To be true about life, what you understand naturally, instinctively, okay? And what? And it tyrannically imposes upon you a blind, see, a blind and impractical belief, okay? You're an idiot, you're blind. You believe that these people are here to help you, okay? Or any situation, you're blinded. You're blinded. And anytime you're blinded, you don't understand, you can't reason through something, you're blinded. That's what it's talking about, okay? And you're relying on belief. Now, if you're relying on belief, isn't that what JC, the Christ figure, wants you to do in the New Testament? Aren't you told that you need to believe? And aren't you told that if you don't believe, what's going to happen if you don't believe? You're finished, right? You're finished. You're going to die. Whatever your doctrine is, you're going to die forever, or you're going to burn in hell because you don't believe. All right? In other words, you need to do what? Turn off your reasoning faculty. Okay? Turn off your reasoning faculty. Turn off everything that you know. Turn off your instincts and believe. Blindly believe and follow the New Testament religion. Okay? So here we see, interesting enough, this author indirectly telling us that anything that you need to blindly believe, or believe, period, is against natural law. I hope y'all can see that. Now, I'm not making this up, that the New Testament requires you, or JC requires you to believe in order to have his favor. You must believe in him. All right? And if you don't, you're done. Okay? Which on its surface should tell you something is wrong, because that's bullying. That's a threat. Okay? When you get right down to it, that is a threat. That's using threat and coercion to get you to submit and stop using your reasoning. All right, y'all? To coerce you into abandoning natural law. Let's continue. Which is the seventh character of natural law? To be just, because in that law, the penalties are appropriate to the infractions, right? In other words, it's value for value, okay? If you jump off a 100-foot cliff, well, what's going to happen? You're going to hit the ground, okay, from 100-foot high. Most likely, you're not going to make it, or you're going to be paralyzed, all right? But let's say you do something that's very minor. For example, let's say there's a swimming pool with 3 feet of water. Okay? You jump in, you hold your breath, you think that you can live underwater. You don't need to come up. Okay? You get under that water, you hold your breath for a minute or two, and then you start to realize that you cannot survive underwater. It's only 3 feet, so you stand up. Maybe you feel a little bit dizzy, scared, or afraid. Now do that same thing out in an ocean or in a deep river. You jump off in there thinking you're going to hold your breath. You can live in there. What might happen to you? A current gets you, okay, and pulls you down. Y'all see that? All right, and then you expire. Okay, or you jump out of a airplane and the parachute don't open, or you don't land right, okay, and you expire. Or let's say it opens but you don't land right, maybe you're going to break a few bones. Okay, why? Because you're not meant to fly. I mean, you're not meant to jump out of airplanes. Y'all see what I'm saying? So if you didn't pack your bag right and you hit the ground, that's it for you. Okay? Or let's say you refuse to study. You refuse to learn anything. All right? You just refuse to. Well, if somebody cheats you, you had it coming. Why? Because you refused to use your own brain. Okay? But you're not going to die because of that, right? You're just going to lose your money. Anyway, I hope that's clear. If I'm not doing a good job with this, guys, I'm gonna come back and redo this. It's so distracting here. I chose the wrong place. To sit and do this. But anyway, let's continue. It says, which is the seventh character to be just, because in that law the penalties are appropriate to the infractions. So that's just, right? Value for value. In other words, cause and effect. If you do something, like, for example, let's say, you should be honorable, right? Let's say if a child steals something, they don't know any better half the time, right? Most of the time. They steal something, they get caught. It's not going to cost them their life, right? They should not even go to prison. But man's law, they might put that 13-year-old in prison. And do they still have juvenile detention home? Right? They still may put the child in juvenile detention home, even though that goes against reason. Right? To do something like that to a child. Okay? So, natural law would say, okay, the child took something, you have a discussion with the child, teach them not to steal. It doesn't require you to sit them off for 6 months or a year in a juvenile detention center, or to physically hit them, right? But it's your property, you can do what you want to do. But if you do that, you can best believe that there's going to be a consequence for you when the child grows up. All right? It continues. Question: are not other laws just? Answer: no, for they often exceed bounds. Like the example I just gave y'all. A little boy or a little girl steals some candy or some clothes, and then they go to the city court, and the city court locks them up or puts them on probation. Right? That's abuse. That's excessive, regardless of the situation. Now, they might try to justify it. Well, the child did this and his parents did that, and his scores in school, that's all BS. That's genocide. All right? Although they try to rationalize it, make you buy into it to justify their destruction and disruption of your household and your community and your nation. Genocide. All right. No, for they often exceed bounds. Under no situation should a child be put in a juvenile detention center or put in jail, overnight or for 2 days, like they used to do in the city that I lived in. Or what I experienced myself when I was a young boy. I probably wasn't no more than 11 years old when the police pulled over me, and I think it was one or two of my friends, accused us of stealing a bike, and then tried to trick us into confessing that we stole the bike by saying, listen, you just say that you stole it and we let you go home right now. But fortunately, I refused, right? But they held me like about 3 hours there. Okay? I'm like 11 years old. See? Y'all see what I'm saying? All right. So no, for they often exceed bounds. So what should you do in a situation like that involves children or young men and women? You go get their parents, or you inform their parents, right? That's for them to handle. Okay, so no, for they often exceed bounds, either in either in rewarding deserts. Okay, so in other words, these man-made laws are going to give more to the beneficiary, the ones that the laws or codes or whatever are designed to help, to benefit. They get excessive rewards, and then those who they are intended to hurt get excessive punishments. Okay? All right? Those punishments might be like they did during the crack era, right? I think it was 3 strikes you're out, you get a life sentence, something like that. Something that's totally ridiculous. But the corporations benefited, and the corporate government benefited because it helped them to destroy or genocide us. And they were able to make money off of that private prison system, and the corporations who did contracts with those prisons, everybody made money, but our people's families were totally destroyed. Okay? That's what the so-called drug laws and the war on drugs. Okay? That's a good example of it. Completely unreasonable. Completely. All right? It says, or in pushing delinquencies and consider as meritorious or criminal null or indifferent actions. So, for example, if you have let's say you have marijuana. Well, that's a natural plant. But now you want to arrest somebody because they have a plant in their pocket? Totally unreasonable, right? But yet you claim to be a Christian or God-fearing nation, right? In the Declaration of Independence, it talks about nature's law and nature's God, but yet you want to arrest someone and lock them up for multiple years for having a plant in their pocket or smoking it or whatever. Y'all see what I'm saying? It sounds like they turned up the music. Let me end this, y'all. I'll get back with y'all.